And welcome back to the Learning Corner with me, Kristopher motherfucker McCoy. Thank you so much for joining. We're going to be reading Every Day is a Friday, written by Joel Osteen. And today we're on chapter 7, Know What to Ignore. Not long ago, a reporter asked me what I thought about two men he named. I said I didn't know who they were, and I had never heard of them. The reporter laughed and laughed. He thought that was so funny. Well, who are they? I asked. They are the two most outspoken critics, he said. They're always talking about you. He couldn't believe that I have never heard of them. But I've learned this principle. I don't waste time engaging. Sorry, I'm trying to get the volume down here. There we go. Ta-da. Sorry about that. He says, I don't waste time engaging in conflicts that don't matter to me. I've learned that the critics cannot keep me from my destiny. What they say about me does not define who I am. Whatever your critics say about you has no bearing on your worth. You are a child of the Most High God, the creator of the universe, breathed life into you. You have seeds of greatness on the inside. You've been crowned with favor. God has already equipped and empowered you with everything you need. Don't waste your valuable time trying to play up to people, trying to win over all your critics, or trying to prove to someone that you're important. Accept the fact that some people will never, ever celebrate you. They will never recognize your gifts. That's okay. Don't be distracted. God has already lined up the right people to celebrate you. Sorry. God has already lined up the right people to celebrate you, the right people who will cheer you up and help you fulfill your destiny. If you want to live in victory, you have to be very careful with your time and attention. You have to know that you have to know what thoughts to ignore, what comments to ignore. And I say this respectfully, what people to ignore. If someone at work is always on your nerves, making sarcastic comments, you could try to straighten them out. But don't be wasting valuable time and energy that could be spent pursuing your dreams. Don't be distracted. Ignore such people. If a family member never gives you any credit, either you can let that upset you and frustrate you, or you can dismiss it and say, no big deal. I don't need their approval. I have Almighty God's approval. You don't have to straighten people out. You don't have to pay somebody back. You don't have to be the offended because of what someone said. You can ignore it and live happily. I'm convinced we would enjoy life a whole lot more if we would get good at knowing what to ignore. Stay on the high road. According to Mark 3, 1 through 5. Jesus was in the temple on the Sabbath, the day of the rest. When he saw a man with a withered hand, Jesus simply said, stretch out your hand. Verse 5 in the NIV. And immediately the man was healed. The religious leader, the Pharisees, where they are, and they don't like Jesus. Wait. The religious leaders, comma, the Pharisees, were there, and they didn't like Jesus. They didn't understand him. They got together and said, yes, Jesus did do something good. He did heal a man. But you know what? He did it on the wrong day. He shouldn't have been working on the Sabbath. Like those Pharisees, some will condemn you no matter what you do. Even if you've changed and did everything they asked you, they would still find fault in you. You could buy them new Cadillacs and hand them the car keys. They would say, you know what? We really wanted a Lexus. That really happens. Like those Pharisees, some will condemn you no matter what you do. Even if you've changed and did everything they asked of you, they would still find fault. You could buy them new Cadillacs and hand them the car keys. They would say, you know what? We really want Lexuses. Let me pass on a secret to save your heartache and pain. Ignore your critics. You don't need their approval. Stay on the high road. The more they talk, the more God will bless you. The, they may try to take you down. God will take you up. I talked about this with a minister friend who had been around a long time and is well respected. If you had it to do all over again, what would you change? What would you do differently? I asked him. That's an intense question. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Without missing a beat, he said, I would ignore a lot more. I wouldn't respond to every critic. I wouldn't waste time arguing about things that didn't matter. I wouldn't spend so much energy trying to make everybody understand me and make everybody accept me. I believe many of us would see our lives rise to higher levels if we just ignored our critics. Many years ago, a young man named Saul, Sal, Saul, Saul, I'm going with Sal, was chosen to be the next king of Israel. See 1 Samuel 10. The prophet Samuel blessed him and called him in front of the people and said, he will be our next king. Most of those present will be, I'm sorry, most of those present were very excited and they congratulated Saul, Sal. This name is going to get me. But when he returned home, many longtime friends ridiculed him. Sal is not our king. He's not a leader. He doesn't have what it takes. They were actually jealous of Sal. I think it's Soul, but I think we'll go with Soul. I think it's Soul, y'all. Sorry. It's gonna bother me. They were so insecure, so intimidated. They had to try to push Soul down so they would look bigger, excuse me. Remember this phrase. When people belittle you, they are belittling themselves. Small minded people won't celebrate you. Small minded people will be jealous. They will gossip to make you look bad, but they are not going where God is taking you. My friend, you are called to be an eagle. You are called to soar, to do great things. Be we all have some crows squawking at us, some chickens pecking at us, some hawks attacking us. They are trying to bait us into conflict. Don't get drawn into those battles. You have an advantage. You're an eagle. You can fly at heights to which no other birds can soar. Crows love to pester eagles. The eagle is much larger, but the crow is more agile, so it can turn and maneuver more quickly. At times, the crow will come up behind the eagle and dive on the big bird. But the eagle knows this secret. It can fly at altitudes that the crow cannot fly, as high as 20,000 feet. So instead of bothering with the pesky crow and its squawking, the eagle simply rise higher and higher, and eventually the crow is left behind. Do the same when someone is pestering you out of jealousy or spite. Soar above, leave them behind. God will make it up to you. That's a true statement. God hears what your critics say, and if you stay in faith, he will make it up to you. Use your energy to improve your skills, to be the best that you can be, and God will bring others across your path who will celebrate and encourage you. Use your energy to improve your skills, to be the best that you can be. That's a good one. Saul could have easily lost his focus and wasted time defeating himself. Many had contempt for the king, for the new king, sorry. They despised Saul and brought him no presents. 1 Samuel 10:27, the New King James Version. What did what did he do? Saul ignored them. One translation says Saul paid them no mind. Verse 27, the message. Follow Saul's wise approach. Pay no mind to jealous people or those who try to bring you down. They do not control your destiny. God does. They are simply distractions. Just stay focused and do what God has called you to do. After all, when you come to the end of your life, you won't have to give an account of it to your critics. Instead, you'll stand before the Almighty God, the Creator of the universe. You will hold your head high and say, God, I did my best. I ran my race. I finished my course. I became who you created me to be. That's the true fulfillment. That's when you will be rewarded. Don't be an edge. These days it seems we are all touchy on edge. A member, I'm sorry, we are all touchy and on edge. A member of our congregation told me recently, I quit coming to church for 2 months because everybody was talking about me. Everybody was against me. I didn't say it, but I thought, ma'am, everybody doesn't know you. Sometimes his words crack me up because I'm like that too. It's okay. We have a big church with seats for nearly 17,000 people. The odds of everybody picking on one person are slim. This woman was on edge, like so many people today. She fell into a trap of creating conflict where there was none. As a result, she stayed home, missed church, and hurt only herself. The funny thing is, our church services seem to be just as good as ever. Matter of fact, a little bit better than normal. In her absence, maybe worse than being on edge is holding a grudge. What a waste that is. What's in it for you except stress and anxiety? I was leaving the mall with a friend a few years ago when he stopped near the exit doors to the parking lot. Our car was only about 50 feet outside the doors. Let's go another way, he said. Why? I asked. Our car is right here. I don't walk by that store, he said. They did me wrong. I might have laughed, but he was so serious and dramatic. I thought maybe they'd accused him of shoplifting or something worse. What happened? I asked. They wouldn't take back a pair of shoes when I was in high school. 20 years ago, I thought I'd imagine that store manager is dead and gone by now, or retired to Florida. I wanted to say, just let it go. I'll buy you some new shoes. My friend had been carrying that grudge around so long that he'd probably worn out 10 pairs of shoes due to the excessive weight of it. Are you on edge carrying a grudge or fighting battles that are not important but consume your time and energy and keep you from pursuing what's really important? Your God's given goal, your God given dreams? You have only so much energy. If you become caught up in the things that don't matter, when a real threat comes along, a real Goliath battle that might make a difference in your drive toward your divine destiny, you might not have the energy to win that battle. Ooh, this is intense today. People pleaser. In my early days as a pastor, I had a difficulty ignoring my critics. I wanted everybody to like me. I'd stepped in after my father's death. Wait, yeah, I stepped in after my father's death in 1999, and his were big shoes to fill. He had led his church for 40 years. One of my problems was that I tried to keep everyone happy. I didn't want to lose anybody. I finally decided I would just be myself and do it the way God is leading me. 99% of the congressional was, I'm sorry, 99% of the congregation was behind me and very loyal, but there were a few who were not supporters. Some didn't like the way I ministered, and some didn't like the way I was leading the church. I felt pressured to fit into their mold and become who they wanted me to be. But you are anointed to be you. When you are let when you let people squeeze you into their mold and you bow to pressure by trying to please all the critics, you lose your identity and uniqueness. It lessens God's favor. So I stepped into my own anointing. I made some changes, and a few that I didn't like that and a few didn't like them. Sorry. Some of my Some of the disgruntled members have been with the church a long time. They criticize me, but what I did what I'm asking you to do. I ignored the criticism. They didn't celebrate me, but I paid them no mind. I didn't lose any sleep. I didn't try to win them over. I didn't say, just hear my heart. I just ran my race with purpose, with focus, and with integrity. I saw God give me his favor more and more. Eventually, the critics left, but God brought me a lot more people, so 40,000 more. When you do things God's way, you never lose out. After years of wasting my time and energy trying to win over my critics, I decided to focus on pleasing God and those who encourage me and love me. I accept that some people would never come around to the wonder of me, so I became a professional ignorer. That's a really good skill to have. And I must say, I'm very good at it. I'm all for treating every person with respect, kindness, and consideration, yes. But no longer try to appease or please my critics. From Mother Teresa to Nelson Mandela, from the Wright brothers to Steve Jobs, every person who has achieved great things has had critics. You will have yours too. I've heard this said, excuse me, if you get kicked in the rear, it means that you're out in front. The front runner is always the focus of those who trail behind. The more success you have, the more opportunities there will be for distractions. The higher you go, the more haters will come out. When you reach a new level by pursuing what God has put in your heart, the jealous critic people The jealous, critical people and the small-minded people will come out of the woodwork. But do not be a people pleaser. Be a God pleaser. Again, do not be a people pleaser. Be a God pleaser. Come on, man. The fight to approval. Here we go. I'm sorry, not the fight to approval. The fight for approval. Beep, beep, my bad. I met a couple years ago and tried to be good friend to them, but they never seemed to warm up to me. Oh, I met a couple years ago and tried to be a good friend to them, but they never seemed to warm up to me. They would greet me and act cordial enough, yet t- yet they kept a distance. I just could not understand that. I went out of my way to win their approval. I introduced them to my friends. In fact, one of those connections led to a business partner for them. Still, they were not receptive to my offer of friendship. Eventually, they relocated to another city. Don't ask me why, but I found people to help them move. I even gave them a gift from their I even gave them a gift for their new home. Despite all those efforts, this couple remained cool to me. A few years after they left town, I heard that they'd said unkind things about me. They thought I hadn't done enough for them, and here I'd gone out of my way and bent over backwards to help them. I recently saw an interesting set of statistics on friendship. Sorry, I gotta adjust my legs. Research found that 25% of people that you meet will not like you. The next 25% won't like you but could be persuaded to. Another 25% will like you but could be persuaded not to. And then 25% will like you and stand by you no matter what. If you take those statistics to heart, you should feel free of any acceptance anxiety. Just realize that some people won't like you no matter what. So do you. True statement right there. S- Don't waste your time and energy trying to win them over. You could compliment some people every hour and some flowers every day, mow their lawns every week, but still, they will never like you. That's what I decided about that couple I'd done so much for. I realize now they're just amongst the 25% who will never like me. I wish I had known back then what I know now. I wouldn't have wasted my time trying to win them over. If someone doesn't want to be your friend, just consider it that person's loss. Too bad for you. You didn't know what you're missing. When I quit fighting those battles for approval and acceptance as a young man, God began to bring people into my life who celebrated me. Not long after, I met Victoria. She celebrates me. I celebrate her. Don't waste don't waste your valuable time and energy playing up to anyone who snubs or you. Slights you. Such people are merely distractions. One of my friends, one friend of mine calls them background scenery in the story of my life. You don't need their approval to be who God made you to be. You don't need their acceptance. You are one of God's children. Let go of their disapproval and know that God will send people who celebrate your talents, your personality, and your accomplishments. With them you can just relax and be who God made you to be. Whatever you do, they'll think you're the greatest thing in the world. In my grandmother's eyes, I could do no wrong as a boy. Once when someone at her once when someone at her home made once when someone ate Once, when someone ate her homemade chocolate chip cookies before dinner, I was not even a suspect. Who was it? Not my darling Joel, she said. It may have been one of his sisters, but I know Joel would never do that. My three sisters would be so aggravated. They say, Grandma thinks Joel is a saint. I can't help it. I had favor even back then. That's the kind of God, that's the kind of people God wants to bring you. People who believe the best of you. Take on this attitude. I have something great to offer. I am one of a kind. I have great personality. I have the right looks. And I will not waste my time trying to make people love me. I will let that go and trust God. to bring me divine connections, people who celebrate me just as I am. When Nehemiah was rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem, see Nehemiah 4, there were two men at the bottom of the mountain named Sanballat and Tobiah. They were his biggest critics, and the whole time he was up there working, they were hollering things like, "Nehemiah, come down here and fight it with us. You will never finish that wall. You don't have what it takes." I love the fact that Nehemiah was so focused. They were making a lot of noise, threatening him, calling his name, but he recognized there was no benefit to fighting with them. When God puts a dream in your heart, there will always be the Sanballats and the Tobias trying to engage you in battles that don't matter. They may talk mean and say things behind your back. They'll try to lure you into strife, but be disciplined. Recognize when it's a battle that's worth fighting. Ain't that the truth? Be your best. Let God do the rest. A reporter asked Bill Cosby the secret of success. He said, "I don't know the secret of success, but I do know the secret of failure, and that is to try to please everybody. You have to accept that not everybody will support you, not everybody will like you, not everybody will understand you, and that's okay. Be the best that you can be, and God will take care of your critics. You don't have time to come down off that wall. You don't have time to convince your critics. You don't have time to argue. You have a destiny to fulfill. You have an assignment to accomplish. Learn to ignore this San- Sanballats and Tobias. Before long, like Nehemiah, you'll complete your walls, and your actions will answer your critics. Stay focused on the main goal God has put in your heart. He will do amazing things like David. You'll be defeated. You will defeat your giants like Nehemiah. You will complete your walls. Ignore the distractions, and you will accomplish your goals all the quicker. Choose your battles. Many of the challenges that may come your way are simply distractions meant to lure you from your destiny. When you are tempted to vent your emotions because someone has hurt or angered you, it is best to ask yourself, is it worth it? Ooh, I should write that on a sticky note. Even if I win this battle, what is the prize? What will lashing out accomplish? Not a damn thing. Sorry, that wasn't in the book. You may miss out on God's best while distracted by battles that don't matter. Maybe you are trying to prove your worth, trying to win over your critics, or playing for approval. Those are all needless distractions. Choose your battles wisely. Choose your battles wisely. In the early years of marriage, I had a pet peeve. If Victoria didn't turn off all the lights when she left the house, I'd get uptight. "Victoria, be sure to turn off all the lights." A few hours later, I'd come home to an empty house with all the lights on. I would tell her once again we were paying too much on our power bills. I knew she didn't leave the lights on intentionally. She just left without thinking to turn them off because she had other things on her mind. I'm I'm more of a details person. Victoria's more of a big picture person. We just have different personalities and different struggles. I harped at her for about 5 years before I put the pet peeve down. After all that time, bringing tension into the house, getting uptight, it finally dawned on me. "Joel, this is not a battle worth fighting. If it costs you an extra $10 a month in electricity, it's well worth keeping the peace in your home." The, lo- the power bills were not much worth the higher stress and heartache. Learn from the mistakes. How much tension are you bringing into the home unnecessarily? You may win a victory, but it will be worth the but but will it be worth the stress? Have you ever heard the saying, "A bulldog can whip a skunk any day of the week"? But sometimes even a dog realizes it's just not worth the stink. I read it slow and I figured it out. Okay. Winning isn't everything. Being right isn't all it's cracked up to be. I found it is easy to start a fight, but it's hard to end one. Yes, it is. Excuse me. The best strategy is to take a step back, draw a deep breath, and say, what truly matters here? Proverbs 23 says, Proverbs 20, verse 3 says, Avoiding a fight is a mark of honor. NLT. If you want God to honor you, if you want to enjoy your life, be a peacemaker. Be the kind of person who avoids unnecessary fight and a fight that carries no real rewards. Your home needs to be a place of peace. Amen to that. You and your spouse need to be in harmony. You are stronger together than you are apart. True statements. Not only that, your children need to see a good example. They will treat their own spouses the same way they've seen their parents treat each other. Fight mode should not be your daily setting. You likely have friends, family members, or coworkers who constantly run hot. They're always aggravated at a spouse, a neighbor, or someone in the office. Anger consumes their time and energy. They don't know when a battle is not worth fighting because there are no spoils. Even if they win, they'll be no further down the road toward happiness or fulfillment. If you make the mistake of engaging in every potential battle that comes along and you are constantly defending yourself, proving your point, straightening out others, then you probably won't have the energy to fight the battles that do matter. Be a warrior, but even a warrior knows when to sit one out. He saves his energy for the battles that mean something, those that move him closer to his God-given destiny. 1 Samuel 17 tells the story of David and Goliath. As a shepherd boy, David was asked by his father to take meals to his brother on the battlefield. They had much more prestigious positions as warriors. David was struck tending the family flock. When he went onto the battlefield on his errands, he heard Goliath taunting his people. David asked the men standing around, "What is the prize for the man who defeats the giant?" "The reward is one of the king's daughters in marriage, and no taxes." So no more taxes, they replied. David saw great value in fighting this battle. There were serious spoils. When David's older brother Elab heard David talking about fighting the giant, he tried to embarrass him in front of the other men. "David, what are you even doing out here?" he asked. "And what have you done with those few sheep our father left you with?" Elab tried to make David feel small. I love the way David responded. The scripture says that David turned and walked away from Elab. David had feelings just like you and I have. I'm sure he wanted to say, "Oh, Elab, you think you're something great? You're nothing at all." He could have chosen to take on his brother, but he didn't take that bait. He focused on what was truly important. Had David wasted his time and energy on his brother, who knows if he would have defeated Goliath? You have to ask yourself, are the battles I'm engaged in worth fighting? Do they have any rewards? Are they furthering me toward my God given destiny? I should write all this down. If a battle doesn't stand between you and your God given destiny, simply ignore it. Wait, if a battle does not stand between you and your God given destiny, simply ignore it. Ah, okay. If somebody doesn't want to be your friend or treats you rudely, that's not worth a war. When you are swept up in petty battles, you risk missing the Goliath put in your path by God to help you fulfill your divine destiny. The battles that do matter will come. Save your strength and energy for what's really important. If a battle does not stand between you and your God-given destiny, simply ignore it. Disarm the arguers. This is a good one. Right after I began ministering, this elderly gentleman came up to me in a serious state of mind. "I need to know what you believe about the second disposition of the Spirit," he said. "Oh, I'm excited about this. This is interesting." I thought, "Dear God, I must have missed the first one." My usual tactic in these cases is blatant honesty. "Sir," I said, "I don't know about that at all." This approach hardly fazed him. He wanted to debate, and since I didn't jump in, he went right ahead, expounding on his own. "Well, Joel, I believe this, and this, and this." I kept my cool. "You know what? I think you're right," I said. "I agree with you. My refusal to take the bait finally gave him pause, but not much pause. Yeah, but I believe this, and this, and this, he said. I agree. Exactly, I said. His face reddened. I was confusing him with my sinister affability. I like that word. Yeah, but I believe this, and this, and this, and this. The poor fellow had won the argument 3 times. He wasn't happy. He wasn't satisfied. He wanted to keep arguing. He was in fight mode. Finally, he seemed at least halfway convinced that I agreed. He walked away, 1, 2, 3, maybe 10 steps before I said, "Excuse me, sir. I'm not sure I'm agree with that one thing." He whirled around. "I'm just kidding, just playing with you," I said. Believe me, his dukes were up. He was ready to fight again. But I was ducking and weaving, staying fast on my feet. He was playing with him and taunting him. That's kind of funny too, but not funny. Living well is the best revenge. Some people are just continuously are wait. Some people are just contentious by nature. They argue with the image in the mirror. So smile and walk away because there will never be a short supply of people looking to pick a fight or start an argument. True facts. According to 2 Samuel 16:5 through 14, King David was walking down the street, and a young man started making fun of him, calling him names, even throwing rocks. He followed him everywhere, just pestering him, trying to pick up a fight, trying to aggravate him. Finally, King David's friend said, "Do you want us to put a stop to him? Do you want us to shut him up? He is a real pain." I love the way King David answered. He said, "No, let him keep talking. Maybe God will see that I'm being wronged and bless me for it." That's the attitude you need. It takes all the pressures off of you. You don't have to retaliate. In fact, your attackers has done you a favor because God will serve as your vindicator. What this person meant for harm, wait. What this person meant for your harm will be used by God to promote you, and blessings will come your way. Thank you all so much for joining me on Chapter 7 of Every Day of Friday How to Be Happier 7 Days a Week by Joel Osteen. My name is Kristopher Motherfucking McCoy. I am Superman as well. I do love to read. It is one of the greatest things that you can do. Education is key to success. So remember to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you comment, I will write you back within 48 hours or less. Again, I want to thank every single one of you for joining. It's always a pleasure to be able to read. As a traumatic brain injury survivor, somebody whose mouth has been wired shut, I've lived on machines and all of that and had to redo everything. It's really important to show people that anything is possible. So that's why I read. It's not just for education, but it's also to show anybody that anybody can do it. So, with that being said, I just want you all to know to please be kind, rewind if you're watching VHS, or if you're listening to a tape or something. Also, every single one of you, including myself, are beautiful. You're blessed. You're breaking down barriers, boundaries, and borders. Please have hope, faith, and love during these trying times because they're definitely tough. Know that every single one of you are a boss, but most of all, my friends, every single one of you, including myself, are a motherfucking beast. And beast don't break, baby. I'm Christopher, motherfucking McCoy, Superman here, reading to you every day of Friday. Hope you have a wonderful day, and y'all be safe out there. I will see you lovely people soon.